Hello, everyone. My name is Dave, and I am with the Exchange at Marion University. And we're back today with another Workforce Wednesday. Today, we're going to talk about a topic that is super important to me, which is mentally preparing for interviews. It can be easy to get nervous when thinking about an interview, so it is important to find ways to boost our confidence so that we can be at our best when we're interviewing for jobs. So, we're going to talk a little bit about how you can be mentally prepared for your big interview and go over some tips and tricks to help you get in the right frame of mind. So, to begin, we're going to briefly go over some basic interview preparation that everyone typically does. This might be a basic overview for some of you, but I promise this will be important for your overall mental preparation as well. So if you haven't already, the first thing that you want to do is research the organization you are applying to. Doing this builds a good foundation for you the rest of the way. This includes looking over the organization's mission and vision statements, basic history surrounding the organization, and looking at what are some of the values of the organization. If you do have the knowledge of who your interviewers are, I would also recommend trying to look them up on LinkedIn to become more acquainted with them. Being familiar with your interviewer beforehand can help jumpstart the rapport building process. Doing these things will also highlight your initiative to the interviewers. Next thing to look for is selecting the outfit that you want to wear for your interview. This is going to be important whether your interview is virtual or in person. Unless instructed otherwise, you should expect to dress for success in an interview. You want to leave a good first impression on the interviewer, so it's important that what you choose to wear is both neat and clean. Although it's important to leave a good impression on your interviewer, it is equally important to find an outfit that helps boost your overall confidence. You want to find professional attire that will not only impress your prospective employers, but will also bring out the best in you. If you ever need assistance with this, please feel free to visit the Exchange's Dress to Impress closet. Next is to make sure that your proper professional documents are prepared. It's important to bring extra copies of your most updated resume or CV to the interview. Depending on how much time has passed since you first applied for the position to when your interview takes place, you could have added important material to those documents that you would want your interviewers to see. So it's important to bring the most updated version because of that. You'll also want to bring something to take notes on, whether that is a Padfolio or a notebook. This kind of ties into the research aspect as well, but after you've done some research, you can use that basic knowledge to formulate some relevant questions that you would like to ask during the interview. You're going to get time to ask questions during the interview, and it's good to have at least 3 to 5 questions prepared to ask. Having a basic understanding of the organization and your interviewers will help you generate some questions that you want to ask. You can also jot down some quick notes about specific things to highlight your best qualifications. You're always going to be asked, tell me about yourself, or even, why do you want this position? It's probable that you will also be asked about your strengths and weaknesses as well. It can be helpful to write down some of your best qualifications to help you better answer those questions. This step is important for both virtual and in-person interviews. Arrive early. It's always important to be prepared for your interview at least 15 minutes before it begins. If you're going to an in-person interview, it's important to be at the location at least 15 minutes in advance. This is typically a good guide to go by, especially if you are traveling to a more unfamiliar area. You're going to want to give yourself some extra time to find where you're going. If you are interviewing virtually, it's important to check your audio and video and get situated in an appropriate space before you begin your interview. You want to give yourself enough time to settle in before going into an interview, so making sure you are prepared in advance will be extremely helpful in doing so. And lastly, schedule a mock interview. We can schedule a mock interview at the exchange for you if you would like to use that service. You can do so at any time through Handshake. So that concludes some of the basic interview preparation that we just talked about. Now we're going to be speaking more on some tips for your mental preparation going into the interview. I think we all have had the experience when we get nervous before we walk into an interview. This typically can stem from a lot of different things, whether this is your dream job that you've applied for, or this is the perfect company that you've always wanted to work for, or simply you might just feel like your skills aren't good enough to make you qualified for the position. We have all experienced some type of anxiety related to the interview process due to these things. In order to combat some of those feelings, we have to be proactive in mentally preparing for future interviews. So we're going to talk about 5 mental techniques. The first one is preparation. Second will be helpful thinking. Third is visualization. Fourth is relaxation. And 5 is perseverance. These strategies will help your psychological preparedness for an interview. And the first thing that we already discussed pretty well in depth is preparation. Now, once again, we just spent a lot of time talking about how to professionally be prepared for an interview, and some of those ways are listed on the screen, just as a reminder. Make sure that all of your typical steps in preparing for an interview are taken care of. That's going to be the fundamental piece for becoming better mentally prepared. Doing these things will help reduce stress levels because you will already feel more adequately prepared for an interview. Once again, if you need any additional help with these items, please feel free to use our office as a resource. The next strategy is helpful thinking. I believe that Tony Dungy said it best when he said, "Be positive. Your mind is more powerful than you think. What is down in the well comes up in the bucket. Fill yourself with positive things." To make sure that your well is filled with positive energy, it can be helpful to work with statements of affirmation. Oftentimes, we find ourselves doubting our capabilities through the effects of imposter syndrome. It's important to remember that you are qualified and a capable individual, which is why you got the interview in the first place. If you weren't qualified, then you most wouldn't likely be sitting in that interview that you're currently in. So working on statements of affirmation is extremely helpful. And some of these statements of affirmation could be, "I'm the best one for this job. I'm the best candidate for this position. I'm extremely qualified for this job. I am personable and friendly. I'm a hard worker." Making sure that you say these over and over in your head to get you in the right frame of mind can be really helpful. In addition to this, make sure that you are reviewing your past successes. Not only will this help boost your confidence, but this is also going to be helpful to find some times when you were going above and beyond, and you can incorporate that into your interview. You could be asked about a time when you were successful, and doing this is going to be helpful in finding that one example that you want to portray to your interviewer. Now, if you're still struggling with the helpful thinking portion, feel free to try and use the STOP method. This is something that can be helpful when you are feeling a little overwhelmed or maybe even pessimistic. So the first part of the STOP method is to stop. Physically and literally stop moving. Take as long as you need to feel comfortable, and if you can, physically take a step back from whatever is going on. Next, you should take a breath, or 2, or 3. Inhale for 5 seconds, pause at the top of your breath, then exhale for around 7 seconds. Make sure you focus on your breathing and take as long as you need. Then observe. Pay attention to any discomfort you're feeling in your body. What emotions are you feeling? Name them. What is going on around you to cause some of these emotions? Lastly, proceed with purpose. What do you need right now in this moment? Rest, food, a shower? Decide what will be best for you and then commit to doing that. This typically helps when you start to feel a little frantic and will work to focus your energy more on what you need to do to get back into a better place. So, the third strategy is visualization. When we visualize, we frequently do so about what can go wrong. So, let's spin that around and visualize what will go right in an interview. Specifically, imagine answering questions perfectly. Imagine that your confidence shines through to the interviewer. Imagine getting along with the interviewer. Imagine getting a phone call that offers you the job that you've been waiting for. This should not be rushed and can contain as many details as you can imagine. These visuals should always be positive. You do not want to rehearse anything that will be negative. If done properly, your brain will react as though you have really had these positive interview experiences. The fourth strategy is relaxation. You can be able to reduce stress by keeping both your mind and your body relaxed. Some things to think about that might help you relax is to go for a walk or to exercise. Meditate, even. You could spend some time outdoors. Make sure to get enough quality sleep so that you feel rested and prepared. Make sure that you are eating properly and helping your body just be more healthy in that way. You can either listen to music, and at the end of the day, remember that the interview that you're going into is just a conversation between two people. Although you might feel that a company is interviewing you, you are also interviewing them to make sure that they are the right fit for you. So just keep that in mind. If necessary, practice some deep breathing exercises to reduce your heart rate and also lower your blood pressure. Make sure that both your body and mind are relaxed so that you can focus on the task at hand, which is crushing this interview. And the last thing is to persevere. It's easy to feel disappointed, but it's crucial that we try to persevere. The reality is that sometimes there's going to be moments that will raise your stress levels, whether that means that you didn't answer an interview question to what you believe is the best of your ability, or maybe you don't feel like you connected well with your interviewers. At the end of the day, you have to learn and grow from every interview experience. Make sure you take notes on what went well and what didn't go well, and try to work on that for the future. And even in some aspects, feel free to ask an interviewer what you could grow on and things that they might have noticed that you could work with for the future. Take every interview you go into as an opportunity for you to grow, and look at every experience as valuable practice that will serve you well in the future. Interviewing can be scary and intimidating, but it also doesn't have to be. Hopefully, you can use some of these tips and tricks to better prepare for the future interviews. And if all else fails, just remember that this young person believes in you, so you should believe in you too. If you would like to check out any of the sources that were used in today's Workforce Wednesday, please feel free to do so at these websites. And lastly, thank you for your time and good luck rocking out in your next interview.